Here with Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golesh, taking some time here to chat with me today. Coach, thanks so much. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Now you're entering this last phase of the offseason. Okay, so the season ended with the bowl game. You came in, worked out, had spring practice, finished the semester. Now you're back starting summer school, workouts again. How is this phase treating your offensive players? What's the mindset looking like right now?
You know what? I think they've kind of kept the mindset that we left Nashville with, which is we left a lot out there. We got a ton of potential, and the potential's got to come to fruition. They've been working extremely hard. You know, it helps a little bit when you got a leader like Hendon and you're going into an off season knowing who the guy is. You can kind of put more on him from a leadership standpoint, and he's done a phenomenal job. They've followed, and it's been I don't want to say easier certainly than a year ago, but more directed than it was a year ago.
Yeah, kind of on that sense, is there a sense of comfort now? You're always working, you're always trying to get better, you can always improve, but your guys, you're number two in the system. They know the expectations of the tempo. They know the expectations of their individual workouts and what they do in position drills. Are you kind of sensing that this go around?
Yeah, I think it allows you to really perfect your craft. You know, I think a year ago, you're really trying to teach the system, teach everything you said, from tempo to where how you align to how hard we play to straining and all the things that really essentially can take you to that next level. I think this year you're spending a lot more time really perfecting your craft, perfecting each guy's traits. And we now know what we have. They know what's expected. Now they can continue to just individually get better, which in turn hopefully gets us better as a whole. You're spending a lot less time talking about expectations. You're revisiting expectations, but you're going into a summer where it's a confident group that knows where our deficiencies are and knows where our strengths are. I think as coaches, in the same breath, we know where our deficiencies are. I think as a staff, we're all on the same page, you know, which helps being able to attack those deficiencies. I think as coaches, you inherently always are looking to figure out where you're deficient. I think it's easy to see where you're good or you're proficient or you're able to create explosive plays with certain guys. I think I spend most of my time on things we were not good at a year ago, things we weren't maybe good at in the spring, to try to find answers more so than elaborate on the positives, you know.
So let's talk about the quarterbacks. Obviously, Tennessee, you guys are in a great shape. Having Hendon coming back, the production that he was able to put out there last year, his growth in the game and all that. But you know, and something you just mentioned too. This is his team, and his teammates know this. There's not a quarterback competition. How big of a difference does that make? You know, not to say that he didn't have the team support and all that once he finally got the job last year, but it's kind of a little bit different going in knowing that, hey, I'm the guy, and he's taking on a new leadership stance, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely different. In a positive, like you said, the guys know it's his team. The guys know where to look if they need guidance. You know, Hendon's still growing in that regard as well. I try to be careful not to totally put it all on him. There's still coaches and still, you know, a hierarchy there in terms of where the final word on things come from. But he certainly has taken it by the horns and ran with it. I think that position in general, you know, having Joe back and having him continue to grow and develop, you know, I think sometimes we forget that they're still 18 to 22 years old and still growing as players and as young men, and having Joe in that room, and Joe's taken a huge leadership role. And I've been really, really impressed with what his mindset has been, which is just to continue to get better every single day. There's guys that look at him as a leader as well. I'd say a majority of our team looks at him that way. And the way he's handled it, in a lot of ways, a really, really tough situation. He's handled it, Eric, better than I would have handled it. He's really taken a role of helping Hendon in every way, shape, and form. I mean, when Hendon Hendon screws something up, Joe's the first guy there to correct it. When Hendon does something great, Joe's the first guy there, and vice versa. Hendon's been there for Joe. So that room is really, really exciting because you feel like you've got depth. It's really hard to make it through with one guy. You know, we're really excited about the young guys that came in, Taven Jackson particularly. Like, man, he's further ahead than we thought he would be coming in, and he's made huge strides, and I think he's got a really bright future too. So it's an exciting room. It's a really good room, and I think they've just continued to take steps to get better and better. And as coaches for us, we've been able to put more and more on them.
Yeah, more on those two guys. I kind of equate that relationship almost to like an NFL quarterback room. You've got a starter. You also have a backup that's been there. He's been around the league a little bit. He's got some experience and he knows. And having that extra set of eyes and that knowledge of the game to coach him up and whatnot. And I've heard you say this before, that, and you just said it again, that they're their biggest cheerleaders, biggest critics. I just feel like, is that a fair comparison, that those two guys kind of like an NFL quarterback room?
Yeah, to be fair, I've never been in a quarterback room in the NFL, but
And neither have I.
but I would assume so. I think maybe where it's a little bit different is, and I think this is what's made Joe excel in his growth process, is the fact that Joe has not accepted that role in a personal manner, meaning he's not comfortable with being the backup. I imagine if you're Patrick Mahomes backup or Aaron Rodgers backup, you kind of accept it. And that's what it is. I think Joe has continued to attack every day like he's the starter, which is what you have to have for him to continue to make growth. And he's made monumental growth, both as a thrower and as a runner. I think for us, the message has been, leaving the season and then leaving spring, is you got to continue to take huge steps, because there's going to be a time like the Ole Miss game where you're going to have to come in and come win a game for us. And for all the negatives that happened a year ago for Joe, he's worked extremely hard to turn those moments into positive ones.
Speaking with Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golesh, and coach, you got Cedric Tillman coming back on the outside, which is obviously just huge. The step that he took from one year to the next last year, having over 1,000-yard receiving, being one of the top wideouts, not only in the SEC, but really the country, and obviously one of the top returning ones coming back. But you lose Javonte Payton, you lose Velus Jones, and those two guys were very critical for what you guys were doing on offense in terms of production and leadership. Replacing those guys took some steps this spring, and obviously looking to continue to take some steps in that regard in fall camp, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think the challenge for Cedric, more than anything, is just to continue to improve. For him, he's such an internally driven young man that really has had a tough, long career here. He's had a bunch of ups and downs. Really, it wasn't a confident young guy when we got here, and now has his breakout year. And there's naturally, at a place like this, specifically Tennessee, now all eyes are on him. And I think this day of college football, where now there's Cedric Tillman t-shirts and all these things, where there's a lot of pressure on him to continue to improve. And our conversations, I know Kelsey's conversations with him, Coach Hype's conversations with him, have just been continue to improve, continue to be the best version of yourself every single day. Because there's a lot of pressure on him, and I think he thrives within that pressure. Doesn't always show it, but he's just kind of the same guy every day. So the hope is he continues to take steps forward. Attacking that room, we're really excited about the three young guys we brought in that all enrolled mid-year. How much they helped this year will be interesting to see, but I think they've got really, really bright futures. Talking Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod and Squirrel. I think they all are so different, but they're maybe the three hardest working guys on our offense. Those guys are in here night and day, and watching them grow has been awesome. Obviously, we want them to be ready to go, but you want to make sure they're ready before you put them in there. The first thing you want them to do is have success, so there's not a confidence issue moving forward. Excited to see Brew as Brew is continuing to get healthy. Excited to see what he is. I think he's excited to see what he is and what he can do. He's shown that he can do a lot of things. I think he can excel in our offense. And we'll find out in August when we really strap it on and go full speed and are able to see, Jalen Hyde's taking giant steps. I think last year was really good for Jalen. He had a lot of ups and he had a lot of downs. And the key with him was to take giant steps off the field, how he approaches every single day, in every aspect of his life. Give Jalen a ton of credit. He's a different human being. He's fun to be around. He's in here working, put good weight on. He's got this big old smile on his face every day. He's excited to be here. I don't know if that was the case a year ago, to be honest with you, with him. And and then seeing guys like Jimmy Holiday continue to take steps, and Jimmy Callaway continue to take steps. Walker Merrill continue to take steps. It's been exciting to see those guys. I think when you graduate guys, super productive guys, especially like Bayless, Javante, I think those guys see so much potential in the ability, like, man, there's 2 spots open here. How do I make headway there? And then obviously we played Cedric a lot a year ago. It certainly would be great to be able to give him a breather, and Ramel Keaton taking another step. So I think when there's jobs open, there's inherently, you always talk about competition, but there's inherently elephant in the room, basically the 2 spots that are open. And so those guys have worked extremely hard. I think Kelsey Pope has done a really, really good job. There was no transition period with him. That was a luxury in keeping Kelsey here, was that there was no transition. It was really, really smooth. And those guys love him and love working with him every day. So I'm excited to see what they are. There's going to be some growing pains early. That's the anxiety for me, is to get through those growing pains. But we'll see as we go. Again, challenge to them, just like Cedric and just like Hendo and these guys, is just continue to come to work every day and be the best version of yourself every day. And that's really hard to do, Eric, especially in January, February, March, where there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We're in mid-June and it still feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So the challenge to them is just continue to work and grind through it and continue to really enjoy the process. And I can honestly tell you that receiver room, they've enjoyed the process of getting better every single day.
Yeah, one more note on Jalen, as you kind of were speaking on Jalen Hyatt. He was very candid with us in the media this spring, and saying that he's taken steps to get better every single day, and he's put in the work. And so I'm excited to see what he can do this fall, without a doubt. I got 2 more questions for you, and I'm very excited about them. We'll let you get out the door. I know you're busy, but not only are you the offensive coordinator, but you're also the tight ends coach. And one of my favorite positions on the football field is the tight end, because you can do so many different things with them. What's the expectation for that group, specifically led by 2 veterans, Jacob Warren and Princeton Fant, this upcoming season?
Yeah, Eric, not to sound like a broken record on this one, but to just get better, continue to perfect their craft. We do so much with those guys. We move them around all over the place. Jacob and Princeton are uniquely different in their skill sets. So calling a game with those 2 guys in there at different times is fun, because you can do certain things with one that you can't really do with the other. I think Jacob has had a phenomenal offseason, putting weight on, continue to grow in his role, gotten better running routes. I think he's always had really, really comfortable, solid hands. I think he's just continued to excel there. I think he is what you would hope a 5th-year guy would look like now. I thought a year ago he didn't look that way. I think he just kind of tried to get through it because it was all happening really fast for him. But I think he's really taken this offseason. He's taken a huge leadership role on our team. Really, really smart kid that when you explain his deficiencies to him and then give him a plan of how to get better, he's really taken it and run with it. Princeton, I think in the same breath, everything was happening really fast for him a year ago too. I think relatively new position. It was his 2nd year really playing tight end. Didn't play just a ton the year before, didn't have a ton of production. I think last year went to him a lot in some critical situations. He made some plays, he didn't make other plays. And for Princeton, it was a matter of getting his body right and playing hard consistently. I think he's had a huge offseason. He's up to 246, feels really comfortable there, has been really healthy, running extremely well. I think he sees that void with Velas as an opportunity to get the ball in his hands more. I know we do as coaches see it in the same breath, where some of that ball in hand, third down type, got to fall forward for a couple of yard type plays. I think Princeton is seeing that could be me, that should be me. So Princeton's had a really good offseason. And again, year 2 in a system, now you're not teaching them how to play. They can actually go perfect their craft and what they're doing. You know, Miles Campbell, I'm excited about. I was excited about Miles last fall camp. And in a lot of ways, freshman year hit Miles right square in the face. And it does that to some people. And he wasn't mature enough to handle it a year ago. He's had a good offseason. He's a really exciting guy, because he's kind of like the best of Jacob and the best of Princeton. So what can he do? You know, last year we really felt like we were going into every game with 2. Hunter Salmon kind of helped us get through some of those games in some bigger packages. I never felt like we could play in 12 personnel, because I was so afraid if one got hurt, we'd be out of luck. And as soon as one got hurt, the package was gone. I've been excited to play in some more 12, do some unique things. Certainly gives you a lot more formation variation when you could play in 12 personnel. And so we've been plugging at that. Really excited with having a third with Miles, Hunter taking another step, and having Charlie Browder here and watching his growth. I think as we build that room, I think we're going to continue to get more athletic and get more complete in that room. Really excited about, you know, a young man coming in next year. Like, I think we're building it the right way, and I'm excited to see what the room looks like this fall.
Absolutely. I think everybody's excited to see kind of what that room and really what this entire offense looks like in year number 2. I know you're a busy man. I know you got to get to the lake at some point, but what is out the door? And you don't have to be super long on this if you don't have the time, but what's it like? This is now entering year 3 for you with Josh Heupel. What's it like coaching and being around Josh Heupel every day?
Yeah, you know, Josh is fun to be around. He loves football in general, super competitive. So everything is a competition all the time. So that's fun, keeps you on your toes. I think just really unique for him 2 years ago to bring a guy in that wasn't in the system, and really spent a ton of time with me, teaching me how he saw it, and still understanding and respecting that I probably see it drastically different. And then coming together with thoughts and ideas that can help us score points at the end of the day. You know, he sees it very much through a quarterback lens. And he also unique a little bit because he's coached tight ends in the past. So he sees it from a couple of different angles, but he played the quarterback spot. I very honestly did not play the quarterback spot. And so I ask a lot of questions to Hype and Joey, because I'll have some ideas sometimes that maybe a little bit are out there. And then they're like, hey, you know, man, first of all, how much time do you think the quarterback maybe has back there? And man, that's not really physically possible. So I'll get a couple of those every now and again, but I see it through a different lens. I see it in a lot of ways through a defensive lens, and how defenses attack us. And so it's a really good combination. But Josh has always enjoyed the football part. I think as we've transitioned here, there's less time for football than probably any head coach in this conference would agree that they would like to spend on, with the recruiting and the other obligations that come with coaching at a place like this. So I appreciate his trust factor, his trust in me and our staff, to constantly be ready and rocking and rolling. But it's, to me, he's such a competitive, confident guy that he feeds that into me, you know, and you're in the middle of a game a lot of time, and he'll be like, hey, you're on it, man, you're on it. You know, he'll kind of encourage you with it. So for me, he's been incredible. Always there to answer questions, always there to give you his opinion. Sometimes lead you to see it the way he sees it. And 99% of the time he's right. And if he doesn't feel like he's got the right answer, he'll always take input and hear me out in that same light. But I think we work really well together because there's such a huge mutual respect there. He's the hardest working guy in this building, and I try to keep up with him on that part of it. And like I said, the competitiveness is where it's fun to be around, because in everything we do, you're either winning or you're losing, and treat recruiting that way, treat how our kids play and how they respond to us. There's just such a positive culture right now with him leading that, and he's taken so much time to be in charge of that, but hold us accountable for that I think the kids have seen that there's a positivity around our staff, there's a positivity around our culture, and all the credit for that goes to Josh, because he's fed that into us, fed that into the players, and they've really enjoyed being around him. He spent so much more time over the last year with the defensive guys and making sure they understand that he's also their coach. And so I think his growth in that part, that he's just really enjoyed being around everybody, even the special teams, like he's coaching the heck out of it, every single one of those drills. And he's been fun to be around, man. The pressure doesn't get to him. He's been in these moments. There's innate pressure that comes with this job, thanks to guys like you and this incredible fan base. And I think he's handled it extremely well. It hasn't changed who he is. I think he's just continued to get better in what he sees as his role.
Well, just one more camp day to get to. You've got a weekend of official visitors coming in. Then you got a month of July. There's the SEC Media Days, one more week of official visitors. Then, hey, it's camp time. I think it's 70 days from right now until it's football time in Tennessee. And I know the Tennessee fan base is super pumped about that. Tennessee offensive coordinator Alex Golesh, thanks so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it. And hey, anytime you want to come back on to the show and talk a little football, you are more than welcome.
No, I appreciate it. I like your bobblehead collection over there, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's minor league baseball. You work in minor league baseball, you collect them over the years.
That's awesome. I appreciate you for having me on, Eric.
Absolutely.